I'm starting.
Yeah.
So then it's just like I can't pay attention. No, I can't. But no, it's okay. I just have to. I'm doing this.
All right, we're gonna start this again.
Oh no, I forgot the shader workshop says Wayne. Rip.
Well, he can watch the stream.
Alright.
Oh, no.
Just go yell at him and say, go watch stream.
It's okay, more room for me.
Do you sleep?
Yeah. You're sorry.
We don't have a link to the Twitch on the website. What the?
I draw like
We
I
don't?
draw like
No.
really
There's not a
sarcastic
Twitch icon?
shade.
No, there's no Twitch icon.
Yikes.
All right, looks like I'm
I
doing
don't
this
have
live
that
section. What? Oh, you can
Yeah,
just
what
use
I
any
have is like a
texture.
quick
This is just
browser.
an example.
Jeez, your holes. Look at the man with 2 whole laptops. Huh?
Do we need anything in preparation of this workshop?
No.
Kiara's rubbing off on me. God damn it.
Don't do that.
Kiara. All of us in production though, Itai, don't forget.
All right,
Trust him the most.
let's actually start this workshop. It's been a minute of like just like y'all are degenerates. Like, what the fuck you doing?
I like how you recorded that and yelled that into the mic.
No, I muted the mic for a little bit and then you know. All right, so I pulled back some of the features. Make sure that it looks similar to this. I removed, I think I removed some of the ambient stuff, and I removed the step function for tune shading. You might not have had that to begin with, so. Oh, I didn't remove ambient. Sorry, I this is still here. But yeah, so y'all should have something that looks a bit like that.
Yeah.
Tell me when you're all good to move forward.
Oh no, ambient?
No ambient. Well, I removed ambient.
Okay. Whoa.
Picture of that actually.
Okay, cool. Do that. All right, so everyone good? Okay.
I'm just gonna take a picture.
All right.
Because I'm far behind.
I mean, I can sit down and help you with what you need right now. Like, there's not that many people here. It's okay. There's not that much left in this either way. Like, we're gonna get essentially to the specular highlight, and then the last part is stuff that I can't actually kind of explain. And a lot of it is just like, hey, use this thing that Unity gave us. So, yeah.
Okay, that's not.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I'm very confused by this.
Who shit is this? You were talking about degeneracy.
What?
You were talking about degeneracy earlier.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can identify degeneracy, I just don't understand it.
Oh, I know.
Who shit is this? Yeah, I'll throw it away. I'll throw it away.
Oh, 1 second.
I've been streaming for like a full 4 minutes and it's just been like
Really?
background yeah, it's just been like background sound and people being stupid.
Wait, we're not being stupid.
This is
Cut,
supposed
like,
to
the
be
first
about
4 minutes, right?
shaders. Shaders are stupid, but like the people who do them are supposed to be like
No, you're stupid.
big brain.
No, we let the computer do all the math for us. Actually, let the GPU do all the math for us, right? not the CPU.
Wi-Fi 3B.
I need to learn when I need to be at school on Saturday, otherwise I have to show up here at 7:30 fucking a.m.
What?
I have to show up here at 7:30 a.m.
For what?
For my research project. We're giving a talk, but the talk can be anywhere between like 7:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. and they haven't told us. So it's just like, oh, so we just have to be here on Saturday all day.
Thanks, guys.
Fucking buried MVP.
Good job.
Don't join as an MDP fellow. You have to do a bunch of bullshit.
Are you doing research for Khaled too?
Yeah, I'm doing 2 separate projects. One of them is getting more love than the other, and I need to start focusing on the other because I genuinely need to. Someone needs to push that project. But yeah. So, is everyone good?
Yeah.
Is everyone good? Oscar, we got rid of all the ambient lighting stuff. So your lighting should look not blue, but like this, kinda.
Cool.
Yeah. And we got rid of step as well. So, all right. Everyone ready to move on? Cool. So today we are going to be doing the specular highlight. So this is kind of the piece de resistance of Blinn Phong. Essentially, it's that nice little highlight in it. And so remember last week when I said like, hey, look at like something really reflective in the room and kind of see how like the high points kind of are matching where your eyes are. Like depending on where you're looking at it from, like the high points kind of move. We essentially need to have that be reflected inside of. Yeah, we kind of need to have that be reflected inside of the shader. So the first thing we need to do is we need to understand, hey, like, where in world space is the object? So we add a float 3, not a float 4, world, let's do lowercase world, pause. Oh my gosh, keyboard, work with me, please. Cool. Text chord 2 or 1. That could be text chord 1. Huh, okay. Yeah, text chord 1. So, anyone remember? I'm just going to do this soft review. Anyone remember what app data is?
The information of the object.
Yes. Does anyone remember what text chord is?
Texture coordinates?
Yes. But it also is just kind of like a catch-all for like, I don't know what type this is, so I'm just going to say texture coordinate. Yeah, it's weird. So yeah, we're going to need to take the world position because where the object is in the world relative to us matters and relative to the lighting. We already have it set relative to the lighting. So now we need to say in the, oh wait a second. I did this wrong, I read this wrong. We don't need to put it here, we need to put it in the vector. Or sorry, the vertex. My bad.
Why?
Because essentially, like we already, this by default is where the object is in the object space, and then when we transform it into world space, we're gonna get the world space coordinate anyway. So essentially, we're gonna want to say, and Unity has a handy dandy function for this, O dot world pause is equal to Unity object to. Wait, do I have to actually do that by? That's stupid. All right, Unity doesn't have a function for it, so we're gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way. World. What is it? App data v dot vertex. All right, let me just make sure. Cool. All right, so essentially, because the object is stored, like the vertices are stored in. I'm gonna zoom in also so you guys can see a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. Because the object already is in kind of object space, we already do the transformation to clip space inside of the vertex function. So we can essentially do the transform to world space in there as well and get the world space position. And the way we do that is we take the vertexes and we multiply them by this. Unity underscore object to world. back-end stuff. This is essentially a matrix that gives you the matrix multiplication to the world space coordinate system. That sounds a little bit heady, but essentially it's the thing that says you're in object space, multiply it by this, now you're in world space. So essentially you're just doing that, and now we have the world position. A world position. All right, everyone good on that? Everyone got that down?
Yeah.
Any questions about that? No? All right, perfect. So now that, hey, guess what? We know where the object is in the world, we now need to figure out where is it relative to the camera. So, did I set up? Oh, lighting normal. Okay, I'll put it down here. Let's go float 3, view dir for view direction, and that's equal to normalize, because we want it to make sure it's between 1 and 0 in all directions, like when averaged up or added together. Underscore world space camera pause. Okay. Well, it's not highlighting itself, so let's fix some capitalization. Cool. Minus I dot world position. It's I dot world position, right? Now I wish I didn't zoom in so much. Yeah, I dot world pos. Okay, cool. All right, so now to explain this. So essentially, how do you get the difference between something?
You subtract it and get the absolute value.
Exactly. In this case, we don't want the absolute value because the direction could be negative, but we do want the normalized. So what we're essentially saying is, hey, where is the camera position and where is this object position? And if we subtract the world space camera position from, or if we take that position and then subtract the object's position in the world and then normalize it, what we get is essentially the vector of which direction is this going. Yeah.
What does normalize do again?
Normalize essentially is a function that makes sure that when you sum up all of your vectors, it goes to 1.
Okay.
It's essentially a way to make sure that, like, hey, you're never going to get like a weird, like, door by the way. You're never going to get like a weird normal or a weird vector value. And this world space camera position is defined in one of our include values. It's in there by default, essentially. It's just like, hey, you know, if I need to grab the camera position really quickly, you can just grab it. So, yeah. All right. Everyone got that? Oh, I'm surprised that diffuse let me get away with this. Bob, that shouldn't be there. Beto, light color. Just making sure my old code is right. Color.rgb, light normal, light color. All right, everyone good? Everyone got that? Perfect. So now is the winner of my discontent because I don't understand the next part as well, which is always a good thing to hear from the person you should be learning from. So float 3, reflection dir is equal to reflect minus light, what did I call it? Lighting normal? Lighting. All right, so for ease of mind, I'm gonna change lighting normal to lighting dir, or light dir, because that's what it really is. It's the direction of our light. Also because the tutorial I'm reading off of has it as that. Cool. All right, so let's now essentially show that on the big screen. I'm wondering if this is gonna, hey, oh, yeah. Yeah, my bad. Alright, cool.
Whoa.
Yeah, so essentially, if I move this, is that gonna, essentially this is getting the reflection from the light. So, hold on, let me double check this. Takes the direction of an incoming light ray and reflects it based on the surface normal, so we have to negate our light direction. essentially it's so we know where our light is hitting our object. Specifically, gosh, I wish I knew this one better. Alright. So, everyone got that written down?
Yes.
Alright, cool. So now, what we did up here with saturate and dot, we're going to do again, except I'm going to replace this, and we're going to do it with the reflection direction and view direction. And that should get us, yeah. So notice that it's kind of reactive to where it's being seen from. Like the general kind of like light is changing based on which direction I'm at. And like if I rotate the light, you know, it's going to change with it. This is essentially like, hey, which direction is my camera coming from, and does it look right relative to where the light is? So let's say like there. Cool. Let's move that a little bit. It's like a big dark circle right there. What is that about? Did I do something wrong? Might have done something wrong. Stop view direction. Yeah, it's not supposed to be there. Give me 1 second. What exactly does dot clamped do? I thought it would do the same. Does it have to be the other way around? Okay, what does the highlight look like relative to the lighting when it's going from this direction? So essentially, like if we're looking kind of in the same direction as the light, you notice the highlight's so much bigger, but kind of as we go a little bit more and more to the side, it kind of gets a little bit more spread out. And then as we go here, it's pretty much almost invisible. Gosh, I wish I could explain this one better. But yeah, does everyone have that?
Yeah.
That, these two lines. Everyone got that?
I think so, yeah.
All right. If there's any problem, I'll come around and help. We're probably going to be removing this bottom line in favor of something else. So. I already included that, didn't I? I already did. Oh, wait. Okay. So, in an attempt to make this a little bit cleaner, we're going to be removing these in favor of a function called dot clamped. Hold on, I erased too much. Oh gosh, I erased too much. Dot clamped. This is a function that essentially is a call to exactly what I had before. I'm looking at the documentation. It's literally, it does the exact same thing. It's essentially a shortcut for what I was doing. But the code's about to get a little bit messy, so I want to have that shortcut. The function being dot clamped. And that should be okay. Yeah, that's okay. All right. So that's just to clean up the code, because we're about to get a little bit messy. So the thing is that this is a pretty uniform specular highlight. However, in real life, when we're kind of looking at things, they aren't always this uniform. They don't always look like this. Generally, they'll be like, sometimes they'll be very smooth to the point where they have no specular highlight. They're just literally a reflection. Or sometimes they'll have, you know, a little bit of reflectivity, so the specular highlight's a little bit larger. And sometimes they're diffuse. They have no specular highlight whatsoever. So in order to fix that, we're essentially going to introduce a new property called smoothness. And it's going to be smoothness, spelled with 2 Z's. And it's going to be a range from 0 to 1, and I need to not have it just be a random quotation, and let's just stick it at like 0.5. So that should show up in our material node. Yep, smoothness doesn't really do anything. And now we are essentially going to say, hey, let's take our smoothness and we're going to the power of our smoothness times 100, take this value to the power of smoothness times 100. Why is it times 100? Dude, but it gets us a nice looking and like proper looking value. See, this is where my knowledge like starts to fall apart. So we're gonna do that. Pow, which stands for to the power of, returns x to the yth power of scalar vectors. Thank you, Unity. And then smoothness, and line 41, what did I do? Oh, yeah. So if we change the smoothness, you'll kind of see without the times 100, it doesn't really do so much. It kind of is there by default. But once we kind of multiply that by 100, we kind of get like, hey, this is a more particular specular highlight with kind of a little bit more gradienting in between. Like there's the gradient and then it kind of pops out. There's like a weird amount of like thing where it's just like, hey, like it just stops because it's so specular. But we're gonna try and fix that. So essentially, what I've just done is the Blinn reflectance model. It's half. I'm losing my voice. It's half of Blinn Phong. Does everyone have what I've shown on screen so far? This stuff.
Yes.
Everyone? I want to hear it from everyone. God damn it.
I'm so far behind. I'm trying to.
Why
catch
is a
up.
circle so small when you put out one? Whoa.
Essentially because when we have an object of high reflectance, the way we think about it is that it's a mirror. But in reality, what it is it's perfectly bouncing back the light. It's going in an exact bounce back. So essentially, like, it's not refracting or anything, or it's not diffracting, I guess is the term more reasonably. So we get kind of this very particular highlight. And also, I think that looking at the examples, it seems like that should be even smaller. And yeah, it's still following us around like a gross. See, kind of. That should probably be even.
No.
What is it? It changes so drastically.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that myself. Dot clamp view reflection dir. Okay, that's all good. That's all good.
Wait, is it the
that's all
smooth-
good.
Is it the smooth? So it's smoothness times 100. I thought it was the power of that to the
Oh,
smoothness,
it's time for
and then
Yeah.
times 100 outside of it.
No, it's smoothness times 100, and then the reflection direction to the power of smoothness times 100.
Where are you? Oh. Whoa.
But yeah, so the problem with this is that this is Blinn. This is kind of a pretty standard, if non-complex, kind of reflectance model. You'll kind of see that it kind of exponentially deals with stuff. Like the nice range for it is literally like 0.01
Yeah.
and like 0. And then it kind of just exponentially decreases the amount of actual spreadage it does. And this is why we don't use just Blinn. We use Blinn Phong. Everything post now is essentially the Phong reflectance model and how Phong handles stuff. So essentially with Phong, instead of just calculating it as is like this, we essentially have what's called a half vector. It's somewhere between the light direction and the v direction. And the way we do that is, and we no longer need reflection dir, although if I replace it, it's just going to kill it, but let's call this half dir. And we're going to be doing a subtraction again, so let's normalize. This keyboard. I'm not used to this keyboard. I'm not used to this keyboard. Ooh. Light dir plus view dir. And then let's replace reflection dir with this half dir. All these dirs, no dir. Oof, that's not exactly what I expected. Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's not exactly what I should be putting in there. Is it I dot normal? Yeah, I dot normal. There we go. So that's a much more natural looking specular highlight, like, in all honesty.
Yeah. That's weird though.
Yeah, it is a little bit weird. Not really sure what's up with that. Whoopah. It's probably because we're doing like a weird subtraction, essentially, or a weird addition. Yeah.
What if you move, like, what if you actually move the ball above the...
Mm-hmm. If we move it up and down, it shouldn't really do anything. That's weird. Whoa, it's like it's bleeding off a bit of its life force. Let me make sure I did that all good. Light direction plus view direction, half vector, I dot normal. Normalize, normalize. Oh, that should all be good. We get that looks a little wacky.
Oh, mine doesn't work yet.
Yeah, I'm wondering what I did.
Like I'm shining a flashlight at.
Is it just hitting it just dead on?
Yeah.
What did I do? Half vector, flow 3, light direction plus the view direction. Okay. Smoothness, 100.
Like that? Oh.
Do I have? Oh, that's why. Okay, well that's fun. When toggled on, the scene light is used. When toggled off, a light attached to the scene camera is used.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, essentially what was happening was that, so you can toggle this, and it'll essentially say like, hey, like, oh, no, asset store, go away. Let's actually bring in an object that's a little bit more normal.
Cube.
Or let's just bring in, yeah, a cube, I guess. And like, if I toggle this on and off, essentially it's like, hey, like, where is the lighting direction? So, it's weird.
Seriously not rotating either?
Yeah, I might have set something wrong here. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
Otherwise,
Light dir is equal to dot clamped.
lighter.
Wait. That's not right. Light dir should not be that. What should that be? What did I change? What did I change? Well, light dir should probably be just the world space normal. Oh, I think I got dumb. Light dir shouldn't be that. I just decided to show off something that I don't think was actually necessary. Yeah, there we go. Oof. Let's, yeah, well, let's. Yeah, it shouldn't be. I heard that. View direction is minus world position, and then light direction, blah blah blah, light dir, normal, blah 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 blah. Dot clamped, that's for the reflection, smoothness. Pow, Blinn Phong, we get rid of the reflection, light dir plus view direction. Half dir.
I like mounts.
Did I multiply in the wrong spot somewhere? Light color. Okay, that's the proper light color, light direction. That's the proper light direction. Whew. This is always a fun workshop where I have to troubleshoot the code that I wrote.
It's all good.
Yeah. No. Dot clamp. Where's the diffuse?
Leaving Linden? Yeah.
Okay, well, this diffuse should probably be dot.
That's it. Because I wanted to go for that. Man, if that's the case, then I feel like
Like,
because I understand like, what we have to do.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, this
Um,
pretty much
but I
straight
heard
down.
Johan say part one's easy.
That is.
It's part two that I'm worried about. Yeah, well, we got like little mix. I'm starting it tonight, and I hope to do it again.
Why is that after?
Maybe.
Okay.
I just needed to study it.
I'm not available.
Yeah.
Because
I
I know
mean-
the information is specifically talking about in class.
Yeah, I mean, like, everything that, like, I didn't understand, I knew way before the notes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How do you do that?
I feel like it really well. I mean, like, I finished another hour. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this technique just straight up is wrong when viewing camera angles from the back, and I'm gonna show you how to fix that. It's literally by continuing on with the tutorial. Hey. I wish I read that. So let's make a float 3 specular is equal to this value. What? I didn't read the cat-like coding Bible.
Yeah. Didn't memorize the script.
Honestly, though. And let's multiply this by the light color so that our specular highlight kind of matches what it should be in terms of like coloring. And then if we just do float 3 specular 1. Ah, what happened?
That was good.
Sorry.
Sorry, I'll stop talking.
How dare you? I will destroy you with my shaders.
I respect you and your shaders. They help my game. They help everyone.
So now, yeah, the specular highlight's going to change as well. I essentially just multiplied light color times our specular, and then I bumped out our specular to a separate variable entirely. Oscar, you're like flipping through like 1,000,002 different things. What are you doing? You should have told me. I would have helped you. I can help you right now.
Until black and white.
I can tell you what's going on.
Light color. Oh, we're not using diffuse.
We're not using diffuse yet. We'll get around to diffuse.
So why am I not getting the light color? RGB.
Can I scroll up, by the way?
Yeah.
I need to see. Oh my gosh, wait, where?
Let me.
Yeah, cool thing is like doing like the other day, where like you have like the objects that was like seeing through another objects.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna go over that, or are you guys gonna go over that?
I will go over that. I'm gonna go over stencil offers because I think they're helpful.
Because that might seem
Colors,
like a
movements,
Can you help with my word function?
tags, word,
You're farther ahead. Alright, what's up? Oh, you need to add.
Oh, nothing's been set. I want to see.
don't change it. I'm so behind.
Yeah, the worst thing.
Strip to.
Yeah.
Whoa. Wow, there's so many things I didn't put.
World position.
Look to UV, text chord 0, flow 4.
Wait, which one are you using?
V2 abstract.
Okay, I'm just gonna move it down a little bit.
That should work.
Okay, never mind.
Position, flow 3.
Where's color being
Maybe it's on the material.
I knew it. Undeclared object tool. Oh, Unity. Underscore object
Oh, I don't even have color.
to world.
Wait, did I spell that right?
Why is my light
Unity
green?
object. Object to world. That's where the T went in.
Wait.
Alright, 65.
Oh no, I've been copying the wrong one. I love when that happens.
Lighting
I was an after it actually.
I'm sorry for my incompetence.
No, it's fine. It's just hard. Alright, where's the
Sorry for sleeping.
Yeah.
4, 4.
You guys are slacking.
You want people to catch up.
Lighter needs to be a float 3. And what? Hold on. 65. Normalized lighter meter. Wait. No, hold on. You need to add these. So.
Main text for color. More smooth.
You. Why do you have this?
What is
I haven't gotten to that yet. I actually plan on skipping it.
No.
The tutorial I'm running off of essentially wants you to create a custom color for the specular highlight, but
Fuck the shit.
yeah, personal opinion is it's kind of unneeded. Okay, so now,
This word is very particular root.
unless you're in a weird room where your lighting doesn't match your specular highlights. Thank you. Alright, do you have any questions? I asked that like 10 minutes ago and y'all were like, no questions.
Look at those copies! Anyone sold on these two?
Y'all could have told me, Itai, you're going too fast.
Where's my color?
I'm like an hour behind when you started.
I don't know where my color.
Alright, so it
seems like
doesn't
it's
work
there.
because viewing from the back is
Like
dumb.
if you go and
What the heck? What is
go down to the
happening?
light,
Oh, is it
and
the
then change the color
smoothness?
on the light.
No, it's not the smoothness.
Oh.
It's pulling directly from the light in the scene.
Okay. Then what is this for?
Oh, that's the tint color. We turned it off because we're not using the future.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I'm so.
I
Mine's is yellow.
I did everything.
Are you?
This light, I feel like this lighting actually looks kind of dumb.
It doesn't look great right now. We're gonna fix it a little bit more.
Because like if you look at it, like
So it should be okay.
if you can see the sun in the background.
Such a
And the light,
maybe it's
ooh,
the
that's
fuck
kinda
was
weird.
ahead.
Trying to
while I
find
was
a
copying.
nice way to like just make this like
Underscore.
I wanna do like
smooth.
little
That should be a float
I'm
one.
trying to find a way to like kind of go to like make things go away.
Yeah, there we go.
For, like, even
Hey!
All right.
And, like,
Is everyone in a good spot?
But, like, I don't know.
Yes. Oh, wow, why is it
Well,
yellow?
like, I want this.
Because your lighting's a little bit yellow.
Oh.
Oh.
It should be pulling from the lighting
Or,
color.
like, even better,
All right.
just have like a circle. Like a vision.
Heyo.
Oh.
Go,
Oh.
go.
Hey.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Continue.
Who the fuck left a Q-tip on the floor? Why the fuck is there a Q-tip here?
Ban him.
Fucking gross.
Control.
What?
Ew.
Don't
someone has to throw it away. All right, so let's continue on. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull it all together now. Diffuse plus specular. Eh?
Oh, okay.
Oh.
It's red?
Your light's
Whoa.
just red.
Oh, it shouldn't be. Yeah.
Whoa, that looks weird.
Wait, what changed? Whoa.
Yeah, if you can set your world.
Directional light.
Yeah. So now we've got our texture, we've got our specular highlight, and we've got our shadows.
Ooh.
So that's like a really, really, really tight specular highlight.
I need a texture.
Oh, what did I do? Oh, is that my phone?
This is texture from last week.
Did I multiply the tints?
Yeah.
Really?
Shit. I don't know how you got it.
I just have it. Don't worry about it. Any texture will do.
I can't find any
Find
Fun,
texture online quick.
fun fact, I never multiplied it by the tint color, so I'm just gonna do that right now. There we go.
Multiply what by the tint color?
So I set up a tint color underscore color,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
declared it here,
Yeah.
Right.
and then just happened to never use it, I guess. So I just multiplied
Oh,
it
yeah,
by
that's what I was
color.
wondering.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's really creepy to hear from up here. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm just gonna assume it's nothing good.
No, no.
it's camera
it
stuff.
didn't change.
All right.
Did,
Alright.
did you put the colors with nothing?
nice.
Click on the sphere and then go to material color.
Did I really?
Oh.
Are you using a blue
Ah.
texture?
Wait, what's? It's just underscore.
Oh, I actually. Oh, hey.
Oh, it's good.
It's green.
Wait, why is only half of it?
Because it's highlighting stuff. You're gonna want a texture on that.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
That looks so good.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
fixed.
that's right.
Just go to select texture.
Oh.
The button.
Yeah, just use default or checker. Use default checker. Okay, cool.
What is? Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah.
Did it do something to it? It looks the same.
Add diffuse.
Wait, I can't see the checker.
Diffuse plus diffuse. Top times lighting dot normal times. What is that times?
Color.
Yeah, that should be right.
It's just, I think it looks the same. You just have really nice texture.
All right.
Because it looks. Try turning it around.
I don't see the checker
Search
texture.
for blue.
Same.
The thing is that like the specular highlight should get like blacked out.
I would know if it was a computer.
Yeah, it gets black. Oh, but yours has like a green glow around it.
What?
No, like you, it's.
No,
Oh, JK, never mind. You're just pressing on it.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, no, it's like that.
Oh wait, no, it's falling
down
down
like
like
a ball.
like camera.
Yo, Etai.
Yeah.
Buster somehow made his wall blue.
I got blue balls.
No, you got the blue ball.
Like a shader.
Huh?
Why not? My beautiful camera, it's all over.
Don't go into the light.
Wait, is the light supposed to follow?
I'm gonna go get
Yeah.
a texture.
It should. The highlight should follow where the texture, or sorry, where your camera.
Wait,
Oh,
where did I
well,
put my
it's following
project?
me.
Where's my project located?
All right, give me 1 second.
I feel my chakra draining.
Disregard that.
Whoa.
Hey, cubes. These
Fireball
look like
launches.
things you'd find in
Oh,
like a
since
chemistry
ring
lab,
jam-
to like learn about weights and masses.
Texture should probably be.
Yeah, they look like weights and masses to like measure shit. Like bronze weights. Oh hell yeah.
Hot pink.
Dude, that reminds me of childhood. What is it?
Why?
Essentially, what you had was unnormalized light direction, which could have been like any vector. Like had you moved the lighting source, the entire color would have shifted, because it's just like what's the rotation out of light direction, or what direction is it to the light? So essentially, we said, hey, let's do the whole
Yeah, how's that
saturate dot product, get like the clamp direction.
Does that mean the big
So,
Okay, what do you need?
No.
from what I've seen, the light is always falling
Oh,
Point it at me.
click on that.
Oh, wait.
Oh no, that's even more now.
Whoa.
Oh, okay, never mind. I got that in reverse. Click on it again. Alright.
Oh, it's an emoji.
I don't know where I got
Okay, let me see your
She
shape.
made the emoji movie. I
Gross.
mean, I hope you know, because one of my teammates uses the exact one with pixel pictures. I don't know why.
Okay, so.
What if I put these on
So
this?
let's switch that
ball
to
thing?
light
Turn the monsters.
and then
Bakugan? Yeah, it's like a Bakugan emoji. Like a really happy Bakugan.
so this will
Emoji
get us our
let's go.
direction for like light to dark. So
No.
Yes.
No, it had
Oh no, it's still lighting.
someone put their thing. Ooh.
Oh,
Yes. No, how dare you?
Yes.
I'm trying to get a texture. Yes.
It's weird. Ooh. That's not tracking you.
Yeah, that one behind is pretty cool.
No, that's not
Okay.
cute
Oh,
enough.
it's so good. Dabba dee dabba die.
So that's kind of tracking you in certain cases. Yeah, so there you go. Nice.
Sweet.
Where are you? Where'd it go? It's gone.
Victor.
Oh, I can see the checkered.
You see it's at home.
I can see the checkered.
It's okay, I'm doing all right now.
What
Wait,
time
what?
is it? Oh my
It's
gosh!
my heart.
We might actually have enough time to boost this into next week's.
Wait, what?
There might actually be enough time for me to go and say, hey guys, sorry, we're doing this as well next week.
No, I didn't see the O.
Wait, is next week stencil something?
No.
Okay.
Alright, so everyone good to continue?
Yes.
Okay, so the problem with this right now is that this color, no matter what, is like either above 1 or it is 1. There's no kind of like, hey, we're not taking the underlying color into account, which is kind of a problem. That's not really how that works. So essentially what we want to do is, oh yeah, this is the part where I kind of screwed up a little bit, huh? Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine.
Together,
What we're gonna do is we're gonna say col times equal 1 minus underscore light color, or sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna need to move this down one. I should learn the shortcut for moving one. Yeah, I know.
Wait. Whoa.
Yeah.
Alt, and then move.
Yeah.
Do you have to highlight it? You don't have to highlight it.
Yeah, you don't.
But does color BS?
What?
I feel like this also happens to Sublime. I've absolutely done
Yeah.
that more times than I would like to admit.
I wish I knew.
Wait,
Like,
same.
oh, let me just copy this thing. And
Alright, I'm not sure this is gonna
I
work.
just did the text stuff.
You did it. You got magenta.
Ah! I'm so mean.
What's
Light
going
color.
on? Yes. And notice how it's black now, because it really shouldn't be though.
How you do?
You multiply all the colors together to get black. I have no idea.
Well, it's because, so this is the part where it's like, you should use this specular tint instead. And I'm like, I don't want to do that, but I guess I have to. Because otherwise I'm just like essentially taking the lighting color and then I'm saying like, hey, subtract the entirety of the lighting color from the actual color. Which, you know, like, it's weird to say this, but the darker the light is gonna get, the more you're gonna actually see the color,
What?
I think.
Oh.
Like, there's that weird gray in between where you're about to see the color, and then,
Yeah.
like,
What? Oh.
hold on, should be like 1 or 2.
So weird.
Yeah, it's weird. So I'm gonna give it a specular highlight, which is gonna be another color. Color.
No, plus vector highlight.
Not 10.
No.
Just gonna make that a color again. And let's set it equal to white, because I'm unoriginal.
Color.
Oh, not there. Specular.
Oh, damn it. I'm so fast.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Okay, that's still dark
That's
though.
outline.
Like a day.
Okay, wait, no, the color is there. It's just really freaking difficult to see. Like if I go to white, yeah, there we go. And I can change that specular highlight now to like a red, you know.
That's a really nice texture.
Thank you, I stole it myself. So now we kind of get like a choice of specular highlight. Okay, that's just the color, not the highlight. But notice that it kind of affects the entire thing, which creates monochrome problems. So in order to fix this, there's a function essentially built into Unity, which has a very long name that fixes this. So let's do that, where we are going to have a float value called 1 minus reflectivity. And then instead of doing this, what we're going to do is we're going to say albedo is equal to, oh gosh, this is an incredibly long function name. I apologize. This is a Unity thing. Energy conservation between diffuse and specular.
Oh my.
That's a function name.
Yeah, at least you know what it does.
Energy.
Well, you think I know what it does? Color RGB underscore specular color dot RGB.
Ah, RG.
Yep.
RGB.
And then 1 minus reflectivity.
Also quite nice. Or good one.
Unexpected token line. Oh,
What's up?
that's also okay. So that function is actually in a library that I didn't import. So let's just, yep, just another include. This is why I kind of like canceled my first one, because I was like, oh, this is like actually hard and I need to sit down and actually learn this stuff. There we go. Yeah, it is. Shouldn't be. So kind of the more specular we get it, the more it's going to kind of fade away the color. It's kind of competing for the color. Yeah. And while everyone is doing that, I am going to read up on what to do the next.
I can't spell.
I don't know if I did it right,
Same.
That's okay.
but specular
Ooh.
I didn't say goodbye to Greg. Damn it. I miss Greg so much.
See, that was cool.
But no, he's still here. He just left. Who is
I
this?
know what I'm doing.
Same. What the heck? Why you no work?
No, we should.
Why you work less? Why you
Have you
just...
tried turning it off and on again?
No, that's not how it works.
Yes, it
Try
is.
calling Geek Squad?
What?
Have you tried calling Geek Squad?
What is specular color supposed to do?
Change the underlying color, I think.
Do I see
know
that?
what you
Mine
can't see
try.
on mine, because mine doesn't work.
What?
Mine doesn't even work as yours.
All right, I'm gonna come around and help. Y'all ever like post on a piazza and then like people figure out who you are because you used your real name and then they start Facebook messaging you?
What the fuck?
No, I always go anonymous.
That's happened to me twice now.
Why they Facebook message?
What?
I don't know. Someone's asking me something. I'll get around to it. Or I won't. I'll just disregard it.
You should give them the
Oh
wrong
wow.
answer.
You guys just say you're busy.
Okay, so take the red color and set it to black.
Oh. Oh, I can actually see.
Yeah. Like set it to black, like take the specular and, oh, It already is dark. I said so dark. Except that the okay, there.
Where'd you get that texture?
I look up online. You steal.
You steal.
Which is bad.
Yeah, don't do it. But yeah, essentially your albedo is going to be fighting your specular highlight. We're going to change this, and this is going to be the last thing we change before I call it a day, and show you essentially how you should actually be doing all of this.
Wait, my specular no longer exists.
Yeah, you kind of have to fight the specular. Okay, what is the problem over here if you have one?
Hey, what?
What's up?
Oh, here was
Is this
this.
supposed to do this? I don't think so.
Wait, you stopped following me?
Stop.
He's still looking at cards.
I just see without texture beneath.
Damn, dude.
I can't go back on the YouTube video. It doesn't let me.
I'll pull my code up again so you can copy paste it. Gosh dang, dude.
I'm gonna get a texture. I'm just kidding.
I try so hard, I get so far, and in the end, you don't follow my workshop. Alright.
Put your trust in me.
We trusted.
No, you have to believe in someone.
Oh, you were looking at the actual. You were looking at the stream. You were following me. Oh, that's hilarious. But I'm right next to you, so you can't.
What are you doing,
I paused it
Oscar?
because you flipped so many times that I'm like, I need you to stop flipping so I can start flipping screens.
Just put a whole table.
Wow.
It's off.
Roof texture.
Congratulations, Blinn. You have yet to follow me later.
I
Yeah.
know.
It's not that left, so we don't know.
Okay. So the problem is that
Why do they not?
so we need to essentially set up. This was the old thing, and now we're going to be setting it equal to 1, or there needs to be a flow 1 minus reflexivity.
Why does it have to have a float though? You don't even use a float or anything else, do you?
So that float's going to get used once we switch to metallic, which is going to be the last thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
The 1 minus reflectivity?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Energy. Okay, I think I remember. Energy
Well,
conservation between
do you open it again?
albedo and
Diffuse and specular.
diffuse and specular.
Energy concentrates.
What are some interesting textures?
Albedo is essentially
What is something
a
that have
term
like
we use
gray
for. Gosh, there's like 2 different terms for just flat colors. It's albedo and diffuse.
Wood room.
Oh, I thought it was albedo.
I always say albedo, but it could be albedo.
Albedo just looks funny.
No one ever corrected me.
Albedo is the name of the that one character from Overlord.
Shut up.
Huh? Oh no.
You know.
Don't say anything, I'm still catching up. I'm really
No,
on the
Albedo.
episode
It's
11.
Albedo. You know
Why are
Albedo?
things so red?
Wait. Oh,
Albedo.
yeah.
I thought it was albedo.
These are the clues. Who's Albedo?
Huh?
Who's the Albedo?
I don't know.
What the?
Not Albedo.
What
Don't
is
worry,
that?
don't worry about
What
the
is
texture.
that?
Don't worry about the texture.
No. Why is the selection so wacky?
Don't worry about the texture.
That selection shouldn't change based on the texture.
Oh, I love this one yesterday. Oops.
Don't worry about the texture.
You're so
What
screwed.
is happening? Why is your like selection tool fucked up? Cause like I click on it and it's got like a bunch of other shit in there.
Because like you're untextured, right?
Oh.
I'm
Oh. Whack. Alright, well I did not know that it did that, but that's interesting. Alright, so we're gonna finish it up and then we're gonna go home.
And
So-
cry.
Cause I need to play Nier Automata.
Oh. Or you can watch Papa anime.
No anime.
Ta-da!
Anime is bad. Don't do anime.
Anime was a mistake.
Oh, someone was in the stream the whole time. Who's Big Bubs?
Big boobs.
Big Bubs.
Wait, who's in this?
Bad streamer.
Hi, Big Bubs. Hopefully you're
Wait, YouTube or Twitch?
still here somehow.
Daniel. Oh.
Okay. So the problem with what we have so far
It's the chancellor.
is that the problem with what we have so far is that essentially it's going to be fighting with our specular highlight even when we want the color to be there. So we need to do something else. So essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to be replacing our specular tint, our specular color. We're getting rid of it
Why?
because it's dead to me and it's dead to the world. And essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to be introducing metallics into this pipeline. So this is kind of something that is give and take with the different PBR work line or pipeline. Blah, blah, blah. But Unity likes its metallics. Essentially, the belief is that you have your smoothness, like a plastic is very smooth, but then you have your metallics. And your metallics kind of handle light differently than a smooth object does. A pure metallic and a pure smooth should essentially be a mirror. Whereas you can have smooth plastics, but you can also have rough metals, but you can also have smooth metals. But if you have a very smooth plastic, it still kind of retains its color. Whereas a very smooth metal essentially just goes to, pure reflective. We're not going to get that reflective because that is a talk for a different day, but we are just going to get it so that our smoothness and color are not weirdly tied together, and instead it's tied in with this metallic value. So we're going to add a metallic property. It's going to be a range from 0 to 1. And then we're going to add a float smoothness underscore metallic. So hey, look for this metallic.
Wait, didn't we get rid of this?
What? Oh no, we don't get rid of the smoothness.
We got rid of the specular color.
Oh yeah.
Oh. You're just declaring it as important.
Yeah. Metallic's afloat. It's just going to be a 0 to 1. And let's go down to the frag. So this is going to need a bit of a refactor. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to keep color. We are going to keep lighting color, I believe. Yeah, we're going to keep lighting color. And then this 1 minus reflectivity, we're going to add a new thing above it. Float 3. Hey, look at that. It's the specular tint. It back, but in a different form, in POG form. And it's going to be 1 minus metallic. And then, or actually, sorry, it's going to be albedo times metallic. My bad. Or sorry, color.rgb times metallic. Should stop saying albedo. I've stuck with color. And then 1 minus reflectivity is going to be 1 minus underscore metallic. And then we're going to get rid of this big old, hey, energy conservation nonsense and just multiply color RGB times equal 1 minus reflectivity. And then down here in specular land, we're going to replace this with specular tint. So essentially we can do that, and
It's Mars.
there's our smoothness versus our metallic, and we can have a kind of non-smooth metallic, and it kind of changes how everything works a little bit. So now we have very smooth, although it's not very noticeable.
And the lighting.
Whoa, what the fuck's happening?
That's a very nice shade of magenta.
All right. I am going to fix this one last thing, and then we're essentially going to probably be done for today. But I'm going to do this one last thing, and then I'm going to come around and help everyone. All right. So we're essentially going to
Suffer.
That's a pretty good touch.
we're going to suffer like G did. We're going to replace all of these, get rid of the specular tint setup, the value we want to keep. Because guess what? There's another energy function,
Oh yes.
diffuse and specular
Bye.
from metallic. And that we're just going to put in the color,
Oh
the
no.
RGB
Diffuse and specular.
underscore metallic, specular tint, and 1 minus reflectivity. So essentially, we also need to add gamma here. Gamma!
Did I spell something wrong? No?
So now we got like this very kind of dark. It's incredibly dark actually.
Oh, wow.
But it looks a little bit more realistic because we kind of have this metal which is going to black out. You know, it's going to kind of bring us up and then it's going to kind of eat away at everything except for the specular highlight. Oop.
It's interesting.
And then we can kind of reduce and do metals. So, short story short, there's about another like half a page on this tutorial. Essentially being like, hey y'all, there are functions inside of Unity that do this all for you. Now, why did I spend this week and last week doing this? Well, it's because I think the math is important. But the real story here is if I wanted to actually do a shader that included lighting, you really should just make a surface shader. Example. Okay, custom example, cool. Custom example. And it's pretty much good to go. The hard story here is if you're doing anything with lighting, use a surface shader instead. Unless you really, really need something particular and custom. Making your own lighting functions, like on cat-like coding, is a great way to understand Unity and all of its shader weirdness and shader goodness. But if you're in a game project and you're like, well, I need metallics, I need reflectivity, I need specular, but I want to do something funny with the colors or with the textures, essentially what you should do is create shader, standard surface shader. This will handle lights for you, it'll handle multiple lights for you, it'll handle shadows for you, it'll handle everything for you. Everything to do with lighting it will handle. So essentially, in the future, don't do what we just spent the last 2 weeks doing, because it's just going to be painful and you're going to spend about like a week rewriting a bunch of stuff and just going through the rendering pipeline and learning all of this stuff, which is good, don't get me wrong, I did that and I understand about as much of it as I did then. That is to say, very little. But when you're on a game project and you really, really want custom shaders that deal with textures or in a cool way, or you're like, hey, we have too many textures, how can we pack these together? Just do that. Just do a surface shader. I did surface shaders for my capstone class because it was just easier. So that's kind of the moral of the story. Sorry for essentially leading you on a 2-week-long goose chase. Next week we'll be finally doing something cool again. I can show it to everyone on the screen right now. It is what's called a, well, everyone has to come over here, I guess, to see it.
No, nothing else.
This is
It's a whale.
it's,
It's a bunny.
it's the bunny demo,
It's a
and
bunny.
essentially it's doing 3D masking. And this lets you do a lot of cool things. So it's just like whoop, 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 whoop. And essentially the bunny is still 3D, so you can kind of see
Whoa.
into it in a 3D world.
The hell?
Yeah, I know, right? So from the rest of the quarter on, essentially, it's just going to be, here are some shader effects that I think would be useful or could be cool for a game. And it's going to be less on the technicals and more of, hey, check out this cool shader I found online, or hey, check out this thing because it's cool. I might touch really briefly on the standard render pipeline stuff, or not the standard render pipeline, the scriptable render pipeline stuff. I did some preliminary investigation onto that because of a game I'm on, and I was surprised about how much they changed and simultaneously how much they didn't change and how much it's still understandable. So that stuff is going to probably be up in the air. But next week, it's probably going to be this. It's going to be a lot shorter, a lot less math heavy. It might even end prematurely, so I'll have to write 2 tutorials in order to fill the whole time if y'all want it. So yeah, Blinn Phong, yay! All right, let's all go grab food. I feel mentally and spiritually exhausted by that.
We're gonna watch some